We remember them as children, playing in a yard, blowing out candles, taking their first steps. We held them as babies and watched them grow into airmen. We remember them as our fathers and mothers, when we said goodbye and tried not to cry, and then letting it all out every time they came home, crying when it finally sunk in that this time they weren't coming home. We remember them on our wedding days, our first dates, waking up together, and how they died in slow motion on a phone call or in a living room when we heard the words, "You might want to sit down." The reality is, nobody was ever killed peacefully in action. And knowing that will rip your heart apart when you think of someone you loved and still love, always, in their final moments on this earth.
Welcome to Patriots Inside the Wire. We are going live now. We are going to go live with Patriots Inside the Wire with Commissioner Sid Miller. We're getting situated here, and I hope you're having a wonderful time. We are getting back from Thanksgiving. I'm sure you are too, trying to just get things adjusted and going, and same as you are. So again, thank you for joining us on Patriots Inside the Wire. We have a wonderful guest with us tonight, and we have a lot of information we would like to get with you. You'll see a scrolling across a website for a reason there. We are going to be talking about something involving land grab, 30 by 30. This is Tracy, and we are going to bring on our guests. First, I'd like to just say thank you for joining us. Please share, grab your friends and your loved ones so that they can be a part of this too, and join us. We just hope that you're having a wonderful day, and we appreciate you being here with us. We're going to let Commissioner Miller get settled. He was driving all the way in from Houston, literally, and literally was going to pull over on the side of the road. And I said, nope, we can wait a few minutes here. So we waited, and we've got the commissioner here without having to pull onto the side of the road, which is wonderful. So we're going to bring Commissioner Miller up so you can hear more about that. There is a website, It is on the bottom, and you'll understand that in a moment. This program is being called on Patriots Inside the Wire. To me, it's a breaking story. It is Biden's land grab. Biden's land grab. 30 by 30. I was not aware of it until I was approached, and I've asked multiple people, and they actually aren't aware of it either. So this is a very important subject. This is something that we all need to know about. So as always, the commissioner is welcome to come on and educate us all in regards to, number one, I'm going to be asking, because it was asked of me today, what all does your job entail as a commissioner of agriculture? And then we will be talking about Biden's land grab, 30 by 30. Thank you for joining us on Patriots Inside the Wire. There he is, Commissioner Sid Miller. Welcome. How are you?
I'm just dandy. Thank you, Tracy, for having me on your show again.
Well, we are appreciative. You were ready to pull over there on the side of the road. And I was like, no, I think our listeners can wait a minute. And I'm sure they're just fine. So we're just glad that you're giving your time to us. And I'm just appreciative. I put water there for a reason. We're going to end up talking about food and water and multiple subjects here that you're more educated on. So anyone listening out there, this is not like a political situation. This is not a party side different situation. This is not a you vote for this one. This is education on what is happening, and it has to do with land grabbing, which means taking land, food, water, and some personal stories that you're going to hear about. So Thank you, Commissioner Miller. For all of you listening out there, Commissioner Sid Miller is the Commissioner of Agriculture here in Texas, and he seems to know everyone. So welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Good to be with you, Tracy. Thank you for having me on.
Well, I'm glad you're with me, and I appreciate that. It was very nice to know that you would pull over on the side of the road to do the interview, but I was like, no, these people will be okay, and what you have to say is important. I did a little research. You're very, very experienced in this and have like personal. I was trying to explain. There are actually near me where I'm at real families that this has happened to, uh, and the reason we say Biden is this is because it happened under that administration. So when everyone's listening out there right now, I don't care who you're voting for. Normally, I do. Well, that's probably not true. I care all the time. But for this show, it is not political. It's not me telling you vote for this person, don't vote for this person. This is a situation that we want you to know about. We want you to be educated on what is happening. So the person that can help us with that is Commissioner Miller. Commissioner Miller, that's a mouthful. I'm used to just saying Sid.
Sid's,
We're gonna go with that. We're gonna go with that one. Um, Sid has been wonderful. Even the two-step act, which I'm a fighter. I'm gonna keep fighting. He understood the importance of needing that too for our border, for our country, for the trafficking, for you name it, the killing of an active duty soldier serving for our country and our rights and our freedoms, which is how we're on here tonight. Our freedom of speech, all of our rights. We do not want our rights taken. We have to stay aware. We have to be involved, and we have to understand who's local and who isn't. So pay more attention, please, and let's let Commissioner Miller get on here about what we call Biden's land grab 30 by 30 and let him educate you more. Before I do that, there is a group, Sid, uh, and it is a Marine that I met at what they call Vet Fest. Wonderful people. This Marine was telling me about a program that is out there that I was not aware of. This one, there's a lot of different organizations, but this one is a hands-on program. It's giving veterans multiple trades that they can teach them in. One of the big ones is agriculture. So trying to take that veteran out of the world that they're used to and getting them into a trade. One of those areas, when he said agriculture, I said, really? He said, yes. I said, are you aware of Biden's land grab? He said, no, but I've heard of that. And it's something that I would love to know more about. We met. You could tell he was good people. Marine, thank you for everyone that's out there that if you are serving or have served and your family, you know I'm extremely grateful for your service. When he started talking about this, and the fund, fund.org, is their organization to help veterans. When he mentioned agriculture, I said, do you happen to know who the agricultural commissioner is for Texas? And he said, I'm not sure. And he called one of his friends, he had left, and he called me back and he said, wait, is it the guy that has the cowboy hat? And they were just describing you to a T. And I was like, yeah, that's him. And they were like, my goodness. Okay, good. They were like, good, he's there. I was like, yeah, he's still there. He's in it. He's definitely not quiet. So we will have to get you in touch with that program that's working with the veterans, and especially getting them into agriculture. So I said, I think there's a subject that y'all need to know about. So what I do is, this is not a subject that I'm well versed in. It is a subject to give to everyone out there that's listening. We thank you for listening. And again, it doesn't matter who you're voting for. Not true, but true. But what I'm saying is this subject is important for everyone to understand what it is. And so in order to decide what is Biden's land grab, what is 30 by 30, Commissioner Miller is the one to educate you on this, and he will speak more to that. So go for it, Sid.
well, 30 by 30 simply is an executive order that Joe Biden executed the first week he was in office. So it's one of his top priorities. Now, the media doesn't talk about it because they don't want anybody to know about it, because it's a very treacherous plan. It'll eventually destroy a big portion of our country. Actually, it's a globalist agenda. It's not just unique to United States. Europe is way ahead of us on it. But what 30 by 30 stands for is Biden's plan initially is to take 30% of our land out of production by the year 2030. That's phase one, but it doesn't end there. Phase two is the 50-50 plan to take 50% of our land out of production by the year 2050. Now, they do this because they want to control population, both here in the United States and globally. Once they can control the population and regulate our food, they can control the people. It's a socialist agenda. They want everybody to be dependent on the government for everything, and basically the food. If they control all the land, that means they control the food, especially if they have control of half of it. That pretty much limits the amount of food production that we can do as farmers and ranchers. Now, they're doing this in many different phases, many different ways. It's a multifaceted plan. One of the easiest ways they do is kick ranching families and farming families off of government leases like BLM land. Now, BLM, I'm not talking about Black Lives Matter. I'm talking about the Bureau of Land Management. Just like in the state of Nevada, the federal government owns about 90 to 95% of that state. It's not much of it in private hands. So these families, and it's generational, many generations have been on those ranches, and they have federal leases on those ranches that they've operated for many generations. They're being kicked off, run off the land because they want to idle that land. The WTO today came out with a plan to eliminate half the livestock globally. They want America to get rid of half of our animals, half of our livestock. Of course, we'll be more dependent on other protein sources. The protein source that they want to replace beef with and pork and chicken is insect protein. You think that's crazy, but you can actually go to the store now and buy insect protein. It's real easy to come up, especially places like Whole Market, Central Market, things like that. If you don't think this is real, this month, two pretty well-known companies, Tyson Foods, one, and the other one's ADM, Archer Daniel Midland. They both invested $500 million each. Together, that's $1 billion in startup companies that are raising insects for protein as a food source. So this is already happening in Europe. Europe is way ahead of us. So in addition to taking the BLM land, and it doesn't stop there. It's national parks land, it's national forest land. Those leases away and turning those farmers out. They are using the Endangered Species Act to shut down production, and we're not talking just about agriculture, Tracy. This will shut down oil and gas industry, mining, timber industry, recreation, tourism, hunting, fishing. Those will all be off limits. So through the Endangered Species Act, if they can get a species listed as endangered, that ends all production on that property because you don't want to disturb the habitat. So in Texas, I've filed suit on the lesser prairie chicken. That's out in our Permian Basin area, our largest oil and gas production in the state, actually in the world. There's more oil and gas there than anywhere else deposited under our lands out there. They're also claiming a lizard, sand dunes lizard, which is all kind of in the similar area of the state. It's not isolated to Texas. It goes in New Mexico, Colorado, Wyoming. It's a big block of land they want to idle with Endangered Species Act. They've also named two mussels in the Rio Grande. They've named a little owl in Texas that they want to put on the Endangered Species Act. They've added a couple of fish. So that's like 7 species that I'm having to fight here in Texas, to keep them off the endangered species list.
How are
One,
you fighting? What are you doing, Commissioner?
um,
Like what? Explain so in layman's terms with someone listening, when you talk about fighting, you're a commissioner of agriculture. What does that mean? You're fighting by.
Well, I have the full force of my legal team at the Department of Agriculture. I have a pretty good legal team, 17 lawyers. I've sued the Biden administration 4 times now, and we've been successful. So we're suing to keep the Lesser Prairie Chicken off Endangered Species Act. We're preparing a case for the sand dunes lizard and all these others that they're trying to put on there. So that's a second way they're doing it. They're also using farmers' land against the land that they own. It's possibly that the federal government could take that land away from them. A lot of farmers participate in a program called the CRP program, and that's an acronym for Conservation Reserve Program. It's a very good program. It's been around a long time, and it takes highly erodible land, marginal land, out of production and puts it in a grass bank, puts it in vegetation to keep the soil from eroding away and polluting our streams and lakes. Farmers have been doing this for a long time. They've had that same contract. They're very familiar with it. But in the Inflation Reduction Act, they put language in that, it's kind of hidden, that changes that contract. So if a farmer stumps his toe, he could actually end up losing that land to the federal government and lose his entire property. So that's another way they're doing it. The next way is kind of a unique strategy. I have to give them credit. It's pretty smart, but they're going around the commissioner's court and getting commissioner's courts at the county level to sign up to participate in preserving our national cattle drive trails, like the Chisholm Trail and the National Western Trail. Very historic. Everybody's seen the movies about the Longhorn cattle drives up through Texas and Oklahoma to Kansas to the railheads to ship back to the East Coast to supply, beef to the East Coast after the Civil War.
And
So they're
Commissioner, when you say they, who is they?
the federal government.
The federal government. Okay.
More specifically, it would be the National Park Service that would oversee this.
Okay.
So if the National Park Service make this a national monument, that means, and the definition is of the area of that cattle trail is from as far as you can see to the east and far as you can see to the west. That's the area it covers. So that's a pretty wide swath. In Texas, the Chisholm Trail cuts through 52 counties in Texas alone. So what that means is it'll be preserved. No farming, no ranching, no mining, no timber production, no oil and gas production, no highways, no pipelines, no transmission lines. You're not going to be able to disturb it in any way. Certainly no construction or development. So that's pretty much going to make that land almost, worthless. Some very valuable land that goes right through our most productive farmland, the Blackland Prairie, the Grand Prairie, the Great Plains, as some people call it. So that's a very stealth way to do it. So I'm working real hard to educate these county commissioners and county judges, not to sign up for that. So we've got a petition out there working against that. So it's kind of
Where do we find the petition? Can someone that's in, our everyday listeners that are listening right now, can they be involved and sign on to something like that?
Yes, there's a nonprofit organization that's leading the fight against this 30/30 land grab. It's American Stewards for Liberty. You can just Google that, go online. There's a wealth of information there. They've got position papers. They've got information on everything I've just talked about. We held a summit a few months back, about 2.5 months back. It was attended by people from, I think, 15 different states. So we're getting the word out there. Finally, we're getting the word out there. Now, early in the program, Tracy, I mentioned that this is a global agenda. Well, Europe is way ahead of us. And by the way, the Biden administration has made great headway. Of the 30% they're trying to set aside, they're about halfway there. They've got about 15% of it set aside already. So they're well on their way. So we've got a big battle to fight.
So, Commissioner, you mentioned your team, your legal team. Now, in your position in the agricultural department, literally. Are you able to do this through the agriculture department, or is this on your own? Is this Sid Miller's finances, Sid Miller's legal lawyers, or is there a situation where you're the commissioner of agriculture and you're being backed by, we know what state you're in? So is this something you're being backed up on as far as in your position, or you're having to take on this fight because this is something that needs to be done? Is that what's happening?
Well, previous lawsuits I have filed as a farmer and not used the assets of my political office. This is too big. As an individual, I can't do that. I need the full force of the Texas Department of Agriculture's legal department. It's going to take hundreds of man hours to fight this, hundreds of hours of legal hours and input. So I'm fighting as your Texas Agriculture Commissioner because it's important to our state. It's not important to an individual farmer. It's
Yeah.
every farmer and rancher, and everybody in the oil and gas business, the timber business, the mining business, outdoor recreation. It affects a lot of industries. So we'll be fighting that with the full force of not only me. We prepare the lawsuit and do the research, but the lead plaintiff, my lawyer, will be Ken Paxton, the Attorney General. So that's his job.
Yeah.
He's the state's lawyer, so he would
Yes.
represent in the Supreme Court once we get there.
Nice. Well, AG can't. I mean, I say that I love him. The work that he does. When everything was going on, and people would come to me, and I'd say, don't listen to everything you hear out there, especially on the news. Start looking at what's happening as far as business. Are things getting done? And I can tell you, I was at that Capitol, I think every day of session, and do not believe what's circulating. So I was glad to see that we still have him with us. So we've got that. Um, as I've talked about this, I'm going to tell you that uh, as I started learning about this, and as you know, like a different military station, um, they weren't able to get that program out completely. So we wanted to make sure that this is something that we get out completely. Um, Within the Department of Agriculture, I have this question because it was brought up to me. Now, I was talking about this, and they looked at me and they said, why? Why would you need that land when we have just land everywhere else laying around? Why can't they just take that? Why are they taking? Why are you trying to tell me they're going to take the land of the farmers and the ranchers? And I said, food and water, number one. And they looked at me and said, no, I refuse to believe that. That's not an agenda that is happening in the United States. And look at the land that is available. If you start digging into this, you'll see there's plenty of land for everybody. What do you say to that?
Well, it's where they're taking it, and I'll give you the best example I can is if they shut down the Permian Basin. Can you imagine what that will do to our oil and gas industry? That's the biggest deposit of oil and gas on the globe, and you want to shut it down. Of course, Biden has made no secret that he wants to shut down the oil and gas industry. He wants to get rid of the combustion engine. He wants everybody to go, electric. That's a huge problem. But when they shut that down, they shut down all the other industries that are across Texas and across the United States. Of course, agriculture being one of the largest, the second largest industry in our state. That would shut down a lot of our cotton production. Of course, a lot of our large cattle ranches are in that part of the state. South Texas, we're going to lose citrus groves, our winter garden area where we grow all of our winter vegetables. A lot of cotton production down there, grain sorghum, no more watermelons, cantaloupes, tomatoes, squash, okra, broccoli, kale, cabbage, lettuce, onions,
Everything.
everything.
Everything. It doesn't come out of Central Market or any type of a grocery store. If it comes from the dirt, that's what I always say. If it comes up from the dirt or it came by dirt and eats, from the ground, then it's meant to be our food and water. So that's my personal. That's me. I do believe that it is there for a reason, and it's in the good book, if you ask me my own personal opinion. But the questions I was receiving and the uh, beliefs that how in the world could this possibly happen, Tracy? I don't believe it's for that. I can't believe that, they're just going in and taking someone's land. They just walk right up and say, we're taking your farm. And I said, listen, if you want to know more, tune in tonight. But I happen to know that there is an actual farm somewhere near me, and there is a family. And so I'm trying to personalize this a little bit because I don't think it's being understood. Um, how this is going about, and then see the long-term picture as you're talking about the long-term goal in this. How in the world, is it to, they used an airport as an example, so I'll use that analogy. We needed an airport. There was a family that didn't want to sell, so they finally just, they push it out, and it's been happening for years. I said, no, this is bigger than that. This is not about needing a piece of land to build an airport because the city's getting bigger. This has to do with control over specific property. And it's in there within, I think, the second month of administration. This was put in, and it also has to do with certain new animals that have popped up that all of a sudden are going to be extinct. I happen to know that. And I did put, so for everyone down there that's listening to us, I do have the website down there. So you can go look up AmericanStewardsOfLiberty.org. You can go to Miller for Texas.com, and you can look this up yourself. The picture behind you, Sid, can you see those ladies and gentlemen?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Yes, it's got, you're there, but you're with us right now. So as I know you, you're on the end there, the far end. So it looks like you were at something recently regarding 30 by 30 land grab. And what was it?
3-day summit that I have host for American Stewards of Liberty, Dan and Margaret Byfield. So we spent 3 days there in Irving, had different speakers from all over the United States, sharing their experiences about this land grab and real life experiences where they have lost land, where they had to fight the Biden administration on this. It was a very successful event. It did help to get the word out. It did educate people. We'll probably do another one at least annually. We may do them biannually. And it's put on from American Stewards of Liberty. And if you want to check out my it's confusing. My website is sidmiller.com. My social media and Facebook is my main source is Miller for Texas. So it's a little different. So sidmiller.com for the website, Miller for Texas at Facebook. Follow us there. I have well over 1 million followers. We're very active. A lot of people go there to get the truth and the real news, and we're not ashamed to put it out there. And I can't believe I haven't got kicked completely off. They shut us down occasionally, so you have to be patient when they do that. But we'll be back. So
There is someone said that was talking to me, messaging, and it happened because of something that happened during one of those, what I call the audition. It was a debate that happened to mention someone named Tracy that lived in Texas. And as you know me, I'm a fighter too. So if you're going to come at me, you need to bring the full story. And that full story was brought me to tell the truth when I didn't feel like I should have been pushed to do that. So I have my own thing there. But the individual that brought me on their show is Roger Stone. So with Roger Stone right now, he said, you mentioned Facebook. And he's like, well, can you get him on? It's called X now. So it used to be Twitter for everyone listening. And I say to everyone, there's spaces in there where you literally, it's like old school radio. You can talk and hold these spaces. And then I say, okay, well, imagine, Twitter and MySpace they've had a baby, and now it's called X. X. It's simple like that. And I didn't think it was, I know I like my joke, right? I thought it was a good one. But
good.
on X, you're going to find more of that news you're talking about and more of the, I'm not saying get all of your information off of social media. I'm telling you to do some homework too. But what I'm saying is I got to get you on there because there are thousands of people grouping together amongst different subjects. And several of them would really like to talk to you and hear from you, and they don't want to be on Facebook. So whoever's listening out there from Facebook, not me, not Tracy, not Patriots Inside the Wire, that's their freedom of choice. Gotta have it. We're glad to have it, and we're grateful. But we got to get you on there so you can see what I'm talking about, and you can be driving and just turn it on and talking. But one of those is Roger Stone. So Roger Stone, do you happen to know Roger Stone?
I do know who
You
he is.
do. Are you there?
I'm here. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, you cut out. Sorry about that. Um, he's had some things happening lately, and he was asking what I was doing. I was like, "Well, I'm gonna go do something right now with Commissioner Miller, agriculture." And he said, "Wait a minute." He said, "When you did something a while back, I caught wind of that, and I'd love to know more. I need to know more about that subject. Where can I watch?" And I explained, and he does not like. He won't go to Facebook. So I gave him the other sites, but I think that he's going to want to talk to you for sure. I said that I would ask you. I never give anyone's information without permission. Um, it's up to you. I can call that way. Nobody has any phone numbers, and if y'all want to talk between that way, you can. We'll do that on the back channels while we're not on the air. But just to let you know, he's watching. And for everyone else out there, Roger Stone is. He has his own show now, but he has been around a lot of different of our in history. Uh, he's 71, if I'm not mistaken. He just released a book. He's very good friends with Trump. Um, he is very, very interested in what this is. So, I said, just look it up. Biden's land grab, 30 by 30. So talking about your food. And then by the 50, we're talking about your water. And I said, even further than that, it's going to shut down other industries. So, this is not we don't like a certain person that's in the office right now because of their personality or because maybe they aren't as awake as we may need them to be. Um, but it is about people. And you mentioned Bailey. So there is a farm that's near me in Texas. And is that the couple that literally got their land taken from them?
Well, there is a couple that lives in Georgetown, not too far from you, near Round Rock, near Austin.
You just told everybody where I live.
They won't mind me giving out their name. It's Dan and Margaret Byfield. They're
Byfield.
the founders of American Stewards for Liberty.
Okay.
Margaret's family was ranching in, I believe it was Nevada or maybe in Arizona. I'd have to check. But they had a 17,000 acre BLM lease, and it joined the land that their family owned, and they'd been on it for several generations. And they got kicked off of that 17,000 acres for actually no legitimate good reason other than it's happened to be easy to take and take it was a big win for the 30/30 program. Very easy to take that land away from them. Just cancel their lease, find some little flaw in the contract that hadn't been upheld correctly, and dispute it, and then take the land away from them. They really didn't even have a chance to respond. So
And so their land farming from generations, we're talking about the same family, I believe, literally just gone, just
gone
taken like
overnight.
that
The land.
overnight. Yeah. And that was something that through generations, um, that's what they did. So you're talking about the leases too. You've got a couple of layers here that I know that if someone has not been paying attention in this area, um, so trying to make sure that everyone out there understands this, that it is, you have a situation where you've got a federal lease. So, Commissioner, if you don't have that federal lease and and say I have a branch and a farm right up here, and is it watch out, Tracy, because they can come take yours too?
Well, it is. Let's say if you're enrolled in one of the government programs like the Conservation Reserve Program, and you have a contract, and you've got to abide by that contract, but you don't know. You re up your contract every 10 years. You get the contract in the mail. You assume it's the same contract that you've had for the last 30 years. So you just sign it and send it back in. You don't read it. No one told you to read it. But that contract was different. There's a lot different rules in there. And if you don't know that, you'll soon be in violation. And then if it's egregious enough and you don't respond timely, you can actually end up losing your land to the federal government, or it might convey to the one of the environmental groups, and they would become stewards of it. Either way, you lose it, and that's just horrible. That land probably, I have a program there at the TDA called the Family Land Heritage Program, and we recognize and have a big ceremony for and give certificates and plaques to those families that have been farming the same land for 100 years, 150 years, 200 years. We just think that's great to keep that type of heritage going. That could all end, just because you didn't dot an I across a T on your government contract. So,
Yeah, and then we also have to say this for them as well, Commissioner. I mean, everybody's going to be thinking, well, why didn't they read that contract? Now, you see some common sense here, and imagine you're working hard days. You're not behind a desk. You're not on your phone. You're out there working your land. You're tending to it so that others will end up having food and water. Um, you're not used to having a team of attorneys and having to comb through things. This is not something your everyday individual is going to go, wait a minute, there's something in here. But we do have to have those government contracts if you are wanting to farm and produce from your land. You have those contracts, right? So if you have those contracts,
if you get a government benefit, the government's going to
right,
tell you how to do that, when to do it, and how often to do it, and you need to be aware of that. The problem is many of these contracts have been renewed 3 or 4 times. It may have been in the program for 20 or 30 years. So there's really no reason, nothing. They don't know anything has changed. They just assume it's the same old contract. They've been doing just fine. They've never had a problem. They don't anticipate a problem, but then they don't read the fine print. And guess what? There's a problem, a big problem.
a very big one. So the Byfields then are the leaders in American Stewards of Liberty.org. You can get that. I was looking at something there and I just saw that you had that summit there. You mentioned a petition earlier. Is that petition on their website?
Well, yes, all the
Yes.
links petitions you can find it there on the website.
Okay, so let's make sure everybody knows that. Any petition, any information that you want, go to AmericanStewardsOfLiberty.org if you are listening and not looking, but we do have it scrolling across as we're live right now. This will stay here and you can continue to watch it later. Ask someone, grab someone that couldn't make it live. Be sure you get this information out so that everyone understands it. And so my other question is the water. So, there's 30 by 30, but there's also 50. So you've got something that's 30 by 30, and then you've got something going even further into there. So can you explain that to I'll act like I don't know and let you explain it.
Well, like I said, it's a global thing. It's what we used to call Agenda 21, but it's a global plan to reduce worldwide population. In doing so, there'll be eventually ideally it'd be a one world government, socialist government, where all the people would be dependent on the government. So that's the end game right there. Now, Europe I'd mentioned, but I didn't explain, Europe is way ahead of us. The European Union has voted to do this. It wasn't done by executive order like it's being stealthily done here in the United States. So if you want to Google 3030 in Netherlands, you will be shocked. In the Netherlands, which is and the reason I use that country, they're the largest agriculture country in the union. They export more agriculture products than anybody. So they're really big into agriculture. That country, the first thing they did was eliminate farmers from using any commercial nitrogen fertilizer. Now, if you know anything about farming, that's the top fertilizer element that you need to grow crops. Doesn't matter what crop it is, it takes a lot of nitrogen to have a bumper crop.
Yeah.
So that's outlawed. Then they told the farmers they were going to have to depopulate 50% of their livestock. You got to get rid of 50% of your beef, pork, chicken, sheep, goats, lamb, all of that. Half of it, we want it gone off the planet. Well, that didn't go over too good. And then they nationalized half the farmland. You had to give up half your farmland to the government. And I've talked about generational farming. Those farms, they're century farms. They've had those same farms in the family for centuries. And so the farmers there revolted. I mean, absolutely revolted. And today, one in every 12 days in the Netherlands, a farmer commits suicide. I mean, they're that distraught. So they have thrown out the leader of their government there in the Netherlands. They've just elected a new conservative leader. He's going to be anti 3030 plan. So hopefully they can get it turned around. But it got way away from them before they got before that farmers got active enough to do something about it.
Right. Let me ask this. So, election years next year, that's an executive order that was signed. If we do not have Biden there, does that mean the land grab? Usually what happens, you get someone else in there, that executive order can also be taken out of there when you vote in someone else, correct?
Executive orders are not permanent.
Right.
They will remain in effect until a new officer is elected, a new president is elected. That president can leave them in effect if he wants to, or he can repeal them. If you'll remember, Biden repealed just about every executive order that Trump made. I mean, he just undid everything. Opened the border up. That was all executive orders by Trump. We had it down to a trickle. I mean, it was very manageable. It hadn't been that closed in decades. And look at it now. So that's all due to undoing the Trump executive orders and installing the Biden era executive orders. So yes, it's
right.
We've got to stop this. If we could get a new president that didn't support it, he could repeal the 3030 plan. And short of that, this administration is not going to repeal it. They want more of it, and they want to expand it and keep growing it. They want another 4 years. 4 years they'll be at the 3030. I mean, they're already halfway there.
I was going to say they have to be, at a good percentage already. I mean, I would imagine what, 20, 15, 20%?
It's the most current numbers we have, and it's not real current, somewhere between 12 and 15% is already taken out of production.
I was thinking that 15. Yes. And so you did just mention something that I wanted to go back to. And when you say that, we've had that conversation. From the military veterans world, everyone understands what 22 a day is. They're paying attention now to what that is. And that suicide that you mentioned a bit ago. So anyone listening, if you're in need of anything, please call 988 for someone to pick up there. And in a minute, I'll let Commissioner tell you about somewhere else. But Commissioner, I picked up on that because as I looked into that, the farmers right now are only a number or two, not far behind that 22 a day on suicide because of what it's doing.
Well, and that's always bothered me that the two professions in the United States that have the highest rate of suicide, you've already mentioned, are veterans, but right behind them and not far behind them are farmers. and that shocks a lot of people. What's the matter with the farmer? I thought they had it made. They got to live out on the land and in the open spaces, and everything. Life was good. Well, this happened to my dad. My dad lost everything when I was growing up. He was a generational farmer, and we had some rough times, some bad beef prices, some failed crops. The bank come got everything we owned. We lost it all. They even come got my mother's car. We didn't even have a car to drive. So it can happen. Uh, and farmers are a little different breed. For the most part, they're kind of, and this is not true with all of them, but in general, they're kind of introverts. They don't socialize a lot. They'll stay out on the farm on the tractor 12 or 14 hours a day, or in the
Yeah, they
mill,
work hard.
or building fence or horseback, working cattle. They don't socialize a lot. Almost without exception, they're fiercely independent and very proud, people. They just don't take charity. They don't ask for help. They're just tough guys. They'll just tough it out. They don't even like to go to the doctor. They're
It's true. Yeah, you're
so
correct.
when you come up to the point, maybe your fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth generation to operate that family farm, you're in charge of the family's heritage. I mean, that's it. It's to the point where you don't own the land anymore. The land owns you. You become part of it. So you miss three crops, or you have a failed calf crop, two in a row, and the bank's calling your note, and you have no place to go. I mean, it's inevitable that the lending institution is going to call your notes, and you're going to lose the family heritage. Well, what do you do? I mean, so a lot of them, they they don't have any out, so they'll end
Yeah,
up taking their lives. So
yeah,
I've
that's very sad.
I've set up a hotline. It's
Okay.
similar to 88, but it's quite different.
Okay.
Good, but if a farmer calls 988, the people that answer that are good people, but they don't know anything about agriculture or the difficulties that are specific to farming and ranching. So I've set up my own. I don't call it the suicide hotline. I don't like that. That's a little harsh. So mine is called the Agri Stress Helpline. Agri Stress Helpline. You can just Google it, and the number will pop up. Uh,
Okay.
the difference is the people that man my hotline, and we man it 24/7, 365 days a year. They're agriculture people. They understand the resources that can help farmers and ranchers specifically. So a farmer may call it and said, I don't know what to do. I'm at my wit's end. I'm going to lose this place. Well, did you know the USDA had a low interest loan program or loan forgiveness program? Have you checked that out? Well, no, I didn't know about that. No one told me about that. Or did you know the Texas Department of Agriculture had a STAR fund, State of Texas Agriculture Relief Fund, where you can get some grant money to help you get back on your feet and rebuild the fences that the flood washed out or the fire burnt down? No, I didn't know that. So they know all this kind of stuff that the people on the 988 hotline don't know. So I've had it up running a little over a year. It's been very successful. We've been able to help a lot of people out of some very distraught situations.
Yeah, that struck me. It's interesting that we somehow I end up having these personal connections that keep leading back to you. One of those is you mentioned strong individuals, people that don't go to the doctor, people that are very proud will go to their land and take care of their cattle, take care of whatever needs to be done. And I mentioned to you before that my little brother. So you don't tell him when he can and cannot go take care of an animal, when he can and cannot have his rights to have that gun if he wants it. He's lived that country life and he doesn't bother anyone. Most giving that you could possibly imagine, was very successful. But the moment you come to him with his land, and I won't get into his story, but he's not here any longer. And I can tell you that my little brother, I would have never. I mean, you could have asked me and named anyone else, and I would have said, nah, never, not him, not my brother, because he's tough. I mean, he's, solid. Like, there's just no way. Well, when you try to come take someone's land and you try to take away their rights, and you also try to take away multiple rights, and you're fighting, you've got attorneys, and it's like you can't keep paying, you can't win here. Like, what are you going to do? So unfortunately, we just didn't know it was that bad, because what you mentioned, that pride, that patriotism, that hard work. Um, the last thing you're going to do is want to call. I got one call from him, and it was during, I call it the pandemic, but, and I was explaining to him, now, again, this is another thing, farming, land, ranching. He's like, "What are y'all doing? Get out there and work. Get out there and get back to what we need to be doing as far as taking care of your land," and everything that he was working on. And he'd tell me, I'd be like, "Listen, bro, I cannot get on a plane right now, like literally, legally, to get out to where you're at. If you give me a little bit of time, I'll get in my car and I'll get to you and we'll figure this out." But no, that bothered him too, being told when he could and couldn't go with somewhere. He didn't flow with the flow of when you can and cannot get somewhere. So that started, it rolled downhill, and then you roll it downhill into what you can and can't do on your land. And so a lot of us, I think, since the whole pandemic, trying to get back to a sense of normalcy, you don't hear, you don't get to hear what's happening. So all the repercussions that are happening are, um, plans that are in place that some of us may not know about. And then hearing about, the suicide rate. I knew about veterans, but as far as farmers, I did not. You educated me on that, and then I looked into that, and it was a shock to me because it was almost like you kind of jolted me, and I went, wait. And so you gave me that sense of, I understand it a little more now, because I just could not understand how someone that strong, that much of a stubborn, like bullheaded, you name it, little brother went to huge big brother. There's no way, but it helped me understand it more. So usually when I connect to you and I get to hear what you're working on or what's happening, what you did again. So you've done that with my son, Sergeant Two Step, and been there because as well as I do, when Title 42 expired, we were all in that Capitol, and it was a mess, and it's horrible right now, and not just in Texas, it's everywhere. So there's a lot of diversion right now, is what I think. So people are paying attention more to the border right now. Where are they going? No one's paying attention maybe to that second layer, and that's what I keep finding. There is a second layer every time you're looking at something within a bill. If you're not used to working within legislation, you better look at that second underlying page there, because that's where what I call the meat and potatoes. That is where you're going to find, you better do some homework. And this is in legislation, like we were talking about, and in what you're talking about, it did get put on there. And you mentioned the national parks and wildlife. Now, how and why would they take the national parks and wildlife, um, and why are these the fish, like the fish, that one blows me away, but and an owl and the lizard and the new animals that are popping up everywhere. um what do the environmentalists, have you talked to anyone, have you talked to others about, these creatures, that are seemingly now here? What's the answer there?
Well, it certainly got not only my attention, the attention of the agriculture community as a whole. People like the Texas uh, Farm Bureau, the Southwestern Cattle Raisers, Cattle Feeders, the Dairymen's Association, a lot of the Corn Growers Association, the sorghum growers, the peanuts, the pecans. Everybody's up in arms on it because it affects their livelihood. So we're all coming together to fight this and push back on it. The Park Service is, kind of the selected one to be over the historic cattle drive trails, which sounds great. I mean, who wouldn't want to preserve, the Texas history of the famous Chisholm Trail? All the movies that's been made about that. It's very romantic. It's very Texan. But you got to look beyond that and see what it actually does to those families that live on that land. I mean, it's going to shut them down. I mean, they're going to have to leave that land. It's so anyway. We need to be aware of that. We need to get ahead of it. At the beginning of the show, you said, not many people know about this. I'm surprised. Well, the liberal media is not going to tell anybody because they don't want us to know, right? They want to keep this quiet. They want to do it stealth. They want to do it very quietly. They just want everybody to wake up one day and say, "Oh my God, what happened? How did this happen? When did they do this?" So that's their plan. Is just to keep it low key, just methodically do it, make it sound good. They've actually changed the name of the 30 by 30 plan. They don't call it that anymore. It's now called America the Beautiful Plan. I give them this. They're smart. I mean, that sounds good, right? Who could be against America the Beautiful?
America the Beautiful.
So, and they do it all under kind of false pretenses as, preserving America's heritage, preserving the land, preserving the climate, protecting the little furry animals, all that kind of stuff. But that's not the agenda. That's not what they're after.
Right. And
They
when
want
you say they, you're talking about the government. And you're talking about the government literally. So I call it a debate, a healthy debate recently about this, what we're talking about. And I was like, okay, I'm going to have to get back out there and start educating. But the debate was over. Well, we have to have people preserve certain animals. We have to have the preservation of our land and parks. They got it backwards. So the more I'm explaining this, like, well, that's great. Like you just said, well, that's great, right? We're preserving America. America is the beautiful. And I'm like, but you're missing the point here. The whole point is to take over within a certain amount of time, to get more of this land. And by doing that, that means the families, where are they going to go? Are they, what do you do? Like, are you for the people or are you for, you know, this unknown species? I'm not saying that I am not for preserving certain different pieces of land and then protecting, the wildlife or our animals that need it. But we need to start looking into this with common sense. And that's what I say to everyone. Okay, if I can't explain it enough to you, please go to, sidmiller.com, or please go to the American Stewards Foundation.org. Is that right there, Sid? I took theirs down and put yours up for the
American
agri-stress.
American Stewards of Liberty, sidmiller.com,
Right.
agri-stress helpline.
Got it. Got it. I at least have the agri-stress on there and your address, and I'll make sure that as it closes, we add those links with it as well. The best thing that I could say to that person as well, I want to know about the Byfields. So were they there at the summit with you? And so they've kind of led this charge with their foundation, and this farm and land that was here. It was in Georgetown. And for everyone that's listening out there, Austin, the capital of Texas, is there in Austin. And north of Austin, we have a couple of counties here. One of the cities is Georgetown. And it's not too far from Fort Hood. So I'm trying to give some proximity here. And so the Byfields literally had their land taken from them. How long ago was that?
I don't know what the timeline is on that, but it's been during the Biden administration, so it hadn't been that long, 2 years or less. So yeah, I mean how do you replace 17,000 acres? I mean, where do you go to replace it? You can't. There's not 17,000 acres for you to just go to sign up for and move your cattle to. They had to disperse them. They had to sell out. I mean, where do you go? There is no place to go. So years of breeding, genetics, all of that's lost. I mean, you've selected all those females for the perfect female traits, or calving ability, their milking ability. You selected the bulls for the large ribeyes and marbling, and it takes years and years to build those genetics up in those herds, and then one day all of that work is gone. I mean,
Right.
It's like you finally built the perfect race car, and the bank says, "Oh, we're going to take it. You can't have it anymore. You can walk." So I
Yeah.
mean, it's similar to that.
Right. Right. And then the other thing would be, why would the government want to do this? I mean, I got that one. It's like, why in the world are you thinking that there's it's not a conspiracy. I don't do that. Um, this is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about real stories, real people, real things that are happening. But then it was, well, why would the government want to do that? They would not want to do that to people. They wouldn't want to just go steal their land for no reason.
Well, a good government would not want to do that, but it's to get more government control over the people. I mean, it's very simple. If you don't have enough food to eat, you're going to have to depend on the government, you know, to feed you. So that's it. They can, if they can control the food stores, if they can control the guns, if they can control the financial markets, if they control the big corporations, you know, it all comes together, and that's how you end up with, you know, that's how you ended with socialism, Marxism. That's how the Nazis were so successful. They controlled all of those factors. They control the people.
Hmm. I well, I appreciate everything that you're doing. I always am appreciative of the information. I know that you step out there and you'll put your hat on and put your neck out there literally. Um and the good thing is that you have a lot of support behind you. I do know that. So that's great. The unfortunate thing is that someone like the Byfields had to have that happen to them. You just said 17,000 acres. That's a lot of land. And um, I just just go look at these websites and start listening to. And you said they've changed it from Biden's land grab 3030.
Yeah, it's called America, America,
America.
America, the Beautiful Plan. You can Google either one and find it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I found it easily. I mean, if you literally just look up 30 by 30 land grab or that America the Beautiful, that one, now that should be a crime. Who who thought to name it that? That actually, to me, is very offensive.
Yeah,
So, I think someone needs to file on that one. There's nothing beautiful about that. You cannot say America the Beautiful as a play on words. You know, that's I have to have common sense. So that one bothers me. That one needs a lawsuit too. How dare you say America the Beautiful when you're literally off the backbone of Americans and everything that has built our country and still running this country? It's beautiful. No, you can't have that. You know, it's just like the flag. It's our culture, the cancel culture. It's the our anthems. It's the what's next. How much more of us are we gonna wipe out before it? What is the plan? So anyone that's listening right now, if you want to know more about this, and this is why I keep saying this, is to go to those websites and you'll find out more. You can send me a message. I am welcome. You can send me the message if I don't have the answer. I know how to reach our commissioner, and I will try to get you those answers. The School of Veterans, they are taking care of multiple veterans by learning different trades now that you just brought up something. They aren't just about agriculture. I was asking them tonight. They actually, in multiple areas that you just mentioned, are in that too. So they're retraining our veterans and putting them into different fields. And some of those fields are more than agriculture. And you just named a couple of those that I did not realize, and I bet they didn't either, are part of this. So this, not just your food and your water and your land. Now you're talking about trades and other areas of business, but this is like a collapse, is what it is. This is a collapsed. There's no beautiful in that. I really am bothered by that. By the way, they America the Beautiful. Um, yeah, I
you have
won't
to.
cuss.
See, it was pretty sly. It was pretty uh, pretty smart of them to name it that. That's pretty. It's deceiving.
Sounds great.
I'll give them this. That was a smart move.
Well, that's what happens. So everyone listening, all these slick moves that keep happening, they're very slick. So we need you to pay attention, stay up on it, and understand what's going on. I myself did not know the general individual, even farmers, like we were talking about. You don't know until it hits you. So until something happens around you, then it becomes a situation. Then people start to look into it, and then they care. But my deal is I need y'all to listen and care before this affects another human being. So whether it's me working on the law that I'm working on, and now working with understanding, uh, I'm not going to say America the Beautiful, sorry, Biden's land grab, 30 by 30. We're talking about, and in the year 2050, there's a plan too, correct?
Yes, that's the
Yeah,
50 plan. That's half the land out of production. Then,
right.
if they control us, they have full control of our food and resources. That's it.
Wow. Yep. So you're talking about oil, gas, production of pretty
Mine,
much everything.
timber, recreation, hunting, fishing, all that's hiking. They'll control it all.
Yeah, this is all a lot, I'm sure, for everyone to take in that's hearing it. But it's very easy to break it down if you start looking it up. I found, when you're at the summit, a gentleman was speaking, and it's only 2 minutes. I was going to play it, but I'm not because I didn't know him and I don't have permission. So I figured I'm talking to you. He gave just a quick, it's only 2 minutes on YouTube because the other ones were longer. Um, and he was speaking about, pay attention because this isn't just about the farmers. This isn't just about the ranchers. This is about people. Um, and if you care about people, you're going to need to pay attention because if it hasn't affected you yet, it will. Um, and we would like for you to pay attention to what we're trying to explain here. And we're not trying to tell everybody that the government's coming in and now we're, taking you. Um, but we've got to be prepared. We want you to educate yourself and be prepared and understand what it is that's out there. And the best way to do that is the way that I do it, actually. So it may not be the best, but the way that I do it is I go straight to the politicians. I don't care if you're up here, down here, whatever your title is. You know that. I always tell them, hey, you put your pants on just like me. So you're in that office because we voted you in. We the people of that Constitution voted you there. So you're going to take that meeting because I am now telling you that I'm putting you on notice. And you're on notice because you're going to pay attention. So I want people to understand that we, the people under the Constitution, we do have rights. And if we got enough people to understand that, we could actually do a lot and make a lot of changes right now for everyone in every area of everything that we're talking about. Um, so this election that's coming up uh, for next year, you know where I stand on this, and probably anybody that just Googling me right now understands where I stand on it. Um, you mentioned getting kicked out and things got thrown out when administration changes. That's what happened was the two-step act. As soon as that administration was out, they threw it out when the new administration came in. So and that happened fast, very fast. So it's so important that we get our election and get everybody involved because this is one way to make everything that's happening is to get someone else in there who understands what is going on. And again, I'm not on here promoting telling you who to vote for except for Trump, but you didn't hear that. I'm telling you, that's Tracy. You don't have to listen to me, but that's my opinion. My son served for it, died in his uniform, and I'm going to use my freedom of speech. And my freedom of speech is that, yes, Trump is the one that I'd like to see in there. And I'll hold that one. You can say Gold Star Mom Tracy in Texas said, yes, that it's Trump. We got to get you back in there. You knew he knew who the people were. I mean, this is what I when I get into it with people, I'm like, listen, do you understand that he knew who the people were? So working with people is different. Don't pay attention to someone if they done your job. Look at their stats, look at the work. But if you don't like someone's personality because they said a word or something like that. When you go home from the office, anyone out there that's listening, do you follow your people home from the office and then go judge what they're doing in their home or how they're doing things? No, you don't. So I want you to pay attention to the work and none of these uh, the diversions. I mean, get off of the whole like personality thing or whatever it is that your hang up is and start doing some research on what actually was happening, what actually was going well. Is there always room for improvement? Of course there is. We're all humans. Um, I made mistakes. I'm okay with admitting that. I don't know everything. I will always ask a question. I always say there's not a dumb question, literally. Um, so, yeah, I just went on my little Trump thing, didn't I? I said I wasn't going to do that. Well, there you go, Trump. You've got a free endorsement right there. So now you're going to have to get in touch with me because Roger Stone will end up talking to you, Commissioner Miller. But the whole other one, DeSantis, using me in a debate and not acknowledging it, and then pictures flying around Texas. I haven't sent you those. We've got a whole nother series that we need to do based on new information. So I have a lot of new information. We have a very good friend in common. When that very good friend got back from another country, sent me a message, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. This is how this happened. So not only did they hurt, me, they threw me in there. And what they didn't understand was then I had to start speaking on who actually died of fentanyl, who actually was the one killed in the military, who was the Border Patrol agent. I'm like, I can go on and on and on. That is true. And it forced me out there. And I went on with Roger Stone. That's how I ended up meeting him. That to this day, I still get, will you please go to this or do that? And I'm like, no, I absolutely will not. To do that to mothers is criminal, if you ask me. Putting us on display like that. There's another mother named Stephanie here in Texas, and she lost her son, and she lost her son to fentanyl. And that is who DeSantis had been around that whole trip. And so not only did they bring me in it, this whole group that's been working on the fentanyl, you know that here in Texas, went well in session. Hardworking lady. We both know very well. The good news is that Tucker's Law did get in. The bad news is that not only was it me, but here this lady and the whole organization that they have. What do you say? I mean, because I know how I felt. So all I could say was, I'm really sorry to you that this happened to you. Um, I was nowhere around. I've never met the man. I don't know why. Um, I worked with Trump. That's the only thing I can tell you. I really don't know why. And then I've worked with a lobbyist that's here that's really, really nice. If I don't know if you got confused or what, but we'll stop that subject because we got a whole nother segment we could do on that. And we could let Roger Stone follow up on that one. But thanks to you again. That was another person that you put in there in that lane for me. So actually, you ended up making me into the debate. I was like, you've got to be kidding me here. I'm not asking for this, folks. I was trying to hide. Literally, I was trying to be at the Capitol and get some work done. And so, like, well, I'm going to have to get active again. And so then I've decided, all right, fine. If you really want to hear what I have to say, then I'm old school. I'm not PC. I'm all about common sense. I'm not about erasing our culture. I am all about supporting everyone. I'm not, look, for me, it's the good book. I have my faith. I have to have that. And then the best title you can give me is mom. I don't need any other titles. The best one in the world is mom. But here in America, I just hope and I pray literally daily, multiple times a day, that we are all getting involved in understanding what is happening. When we start talking about different countries and different subjects, when we start diverting off of what we need to pay attention to, that's when I get a little worried and I'm like, I need to get a hold of you, see what's going on where so that we can speak up. We have some Border Patrol moms who are wonderful that actually, if he doesn't remember well, to get a hold of them, I mean, once you're out, you're out. But they came to me and said, look, we'll talk, but we're only talking to you. And then if you can get us to that person, we will talk. So very, very, I hate saying big stories. What I really need to say is tragic, tragic, real, true stories of things that are happening and have happened to not only Border Patrol, military, police officers, farmers, ranchers. Um, you can fit every single category right now as we're talking right between the two of us, and bring up a subject and you go, all right, you take this one, Miller. I'll take that one. So the thing that I appreciate is that you take the time. I don't know how you do it. Honestly, I couldn't keep up with you. You're in this city and then you're in that city, and I'm going, my gosh, like, where are you at now? I'm trying to, and I saw that ring. I love it, by the way. Um, it's very beautiful. But I am just grateful that you took the time tonight and you were willing to pull over in your truck and turn on your lights. And I was like, no, let's hang a minute. And I'm sure everybody out there that would like to hear information, they'll tune in, and then this will stay out there as a recording. You can go to it here. You can go to it on YouTube. You can go to it where it's uploaded. We are actually plugged into 2 different radio stations right now. So that's there. So if you need your information, if you need to understand this Agra Stress hotline that sidmiller.com has his information on, please go to that. And it's not just stress; it's tragic. It's at the point of death. Um, you don't need to get a hold of someone that's a normal, ordinary, doesn't understand like where you're at in that. And so I understand why you did that. That's a whole different caliber of what you're dealing with when it comes to military, farming. There's just a certain breed of individual personalities that are going to be to their pride, may be there, or there's something else that may make them feel more comfortable calling. So thank you for putting that together, the agri stress hotline, because I understand that one. There's no way my brother would have called any of those other numbers. So I know what you're talking about. So we just hope that anyone out there that's listening, please go to the websites. SidMiller.com has it on his. It's agri stress hotline. And then again, we will make sure that the Byfields organization is out there for everyone to see. We've mentioned it a few times. Is there something you would like to tell everyone, Commissioner Miller, to understand what they can do? So I heard petition, so I caught on to that. So, and to go to American Steward's website, what would you like to say?
The best thing they can do to understand the 3030 problem, that everything that you need to know, you can find at American Stewards of Liberty. American Stewards of Liberty. All your questions are there. They've got an information sheet. There'll be upcoming meetings and seminars that you can attend. There's information on there how you can help the cause. If you've got, you mentioned your brother would have never went to that helpline. Well, we realize that, so we're marketing it a little different. So we're targeting our marketing to the children and to the grandchildren, and we feel that, hey, Pawpaw, would you do me a favor? What is it, Sonny? Would you come over and sit down and call this number with me and talk to these people for me? That might work. That might actually work. So we're going to try that. There's not many pawpaws or grandmothers that wouldn't listen to their grandbaby or their son, or
Right.
and
Well, and in the schools right now, they're not really learning traditional.
anyway. I appreciate you having me on tonight. Is very good to get this information out there. You can reach me, sidmiller.com, if you have any more questions that I could help you with. American Stewards for Liberty, Agri Stress Helpline.
I think your phone is cutting out on there, Commissioner. There you are. He's playing jokes on me.
Sorry.
It's all right. You disappeared. There's a conspiracy going on. I'm kidding. That's a bad joke. We're just good people. So the thing to mention for me to say is you're what I call good people, real people. Um, and you're correct. Someone like my brother would not do that. Like, just to call me, and I still didn't think that it was, he didn't say, something was awful. Um, but it was a little out of the I knew something was different. I knew that he was extremely upset that he couldn't go take care of just giving some food and water to his cattle, and being ran off his land like that because of a situation. Um, we appreciate you. We appreciate your time. The American Stewards of Liberty.org. Um, that is up where everyone can get that information. Anything that you've heard here tonight, do not hold that against me. You need to understand. You need to please educate yourself. I don't have all the answers. We're trying to group our resources together. And through grabbing American Stewards of Liberty.org, sidmiller.com, if you want to reach out, look up that information, start becoming educated on that. I think that you'll find what we have found, and that is common sense. And I think if your common sense drives that, you'll understand that this is something that is not beautiful. This is not something that's America the beautiful. The fact that it was changed to that is that really does bother me. Actually, can you do another lawsuit? I know you're up to 17, but uh, that sounds like we could do one on that.
If we can figure out how to do it, we will.
Yeah, I don't want that. I think of our flag that's draped across our veterans, and stood up there because of our veterans, and I think of the anthem and the things I think about. Like, wait, no, this doesn't work. So, you know, it's like dressing something up and putting it out there so that it looks prettier in a package is basically what it is. So, um, I just want everyone to pay attention in your area. If this isn't something that you want to get involved with, you may know someone. Pass that information on. Go take a look at the petition and understand what it's all about. Again, this is my opinion. This is Patriots Inside the Wire. When you're inside the wire, that means you're inside the safe zone. So again, my opinion, my show, my right. I say what I say because I have the right to do so from the service of those that served, one being my son. So if you ever want someone to get out there and tell the truth and put it out there the way that common sense, and I have learned that, well, there's not much more you can do to me. So already taking a son of mine like that, I don't. You're not going to keep me out of your office. You're not going to keep me down. I am going to make sure that we understand what is going on because I'm sick of the numbers that we're losing for our veterans. I'm sick of the number for hearing about farming, and and it relates back to my brother. So I think everyone out there needs to understand one part of this: food and water, and then it starts shutting down other areas. So take a look, please, at AmericanStoresOfLiberty.org. We appreciate you being with us, Commissioner. You're always all over the place. You'll have to let me know again when you're in the area. The veterans of the Simplify, they're under thefund.org. Fund.org. You can send me a message if you need to. His name is, there's a gentleman, a Marine. Got to be careful there. There is a Marine. His name is VJ. So we'll end up wanting to have lunch with you, Commissioner, and understanding what we can do more. These vets that are training for these different trades, we've mentioned multiple trades here. It's piqued their interest. So let's see what we can get them involved in too. So it's always good to have a big group of Marines or any branch get involved and understand that no, this is what we fought for. We're not going for this. So so I say thank you to those that serve or have served. Thank you to all patriots who do rise up and understand what we need to do from the grassroots patriots. We look forward to talking to you again on Patriots Inside the Wire. Hope you've had a great night. Next week we'll be a little lighter. We will have on Kendall Tucker, who has his album coming out with Jelly Roll. I'm going to go from one end of the spectrum to the other. So, but this is extremely important. So I was like, okay, I'm doing this. And then the next show, we'll do a Christmas show. So you can pop in there if you want and hear some great veterans music. So when you're doing serious work like that all the time, for me, it's music. I don't know about you, but I got to have something, that's there. Music is medicinal to me as well as the good book. So those are my suggestions for myself. For anyone else out there, it's a free country. Just do it within the law. That's my only thing that I ask. So, thanks again, Commissioner, for coming on. And again, everyone, please check out AmericanStewardsOfLiberty.org. Send up a prayer to the Byfields too. Everything that's going on and all the work that they're doing, the hours we're putting in after losing 17,000 acres. And it's not just them. Someone said to me, well, how many, Tracy? And I said, I think it's up to at least 15, if I'm not correct, Commissioner. It's somewhere around that number of families, actual families, around us. I don't know if that's a higher number or not, but I said, I do know that there's a minimum of 12 to 15. But we're not going to sit here and name their names off. We're going to send up prayers for them and everyone else within the industry. And it's not just an industry. It's America, and it is not the beautiful that they're talking about. It is America for the backbone off of all of us that are patriots. We are all patriots. We are all for supporting and going forward in this country. And I am one that will tell you, I do not believe that there is a subject that we cannot get together on and agree to disagree and be fine with it. And I call that old school. I call that the gentleman way. I call that whatever you want to call it. It's just the way that I grew up in the Southern era was, it's the gentleman way to do things and to respect others. And I understand that. And I want us to all have our own opinions. We have our rights for a reason. So I'm glad everybody's not like me. I'm glad everybody's not just like you. And we don't have just robots around. But so we need all of that. We need everybody's opinions and thoughts. But what we don't need is someone controlling those. We don't need someone giving you the information. To control that information, we need you to get involved and understand what is going on. So as much as we can do, we will do it to get the information out. So Commissioner, thank you for what you're doing and what you're about to do there in Houston for those that you are supporting. Let me know what is going on. Keep me abreast of anything that's happening. And then when you get back and you've got a little more time, we'll get you in touch with the school that's for the veterans, and all the trades there and what they're doing. And I'd like to make that connection for you. And again, I know he's listening. So Roger Stone would like to have a back channel private conversation with you. So there it is, Roger. I've told him now 3 times. He shook his head yes. So just get a hold of me on the back channels, Commissioner, and I will let Roger know that. But thank you for all that you do. Thank you to everyone else out there for paying attention and listening. And hopefully you get to get a little bit of rest and settle in before you start again tomorrow. So again, thank you for being on Patriots Inside the Wire. It is very weird to be very, super professional like this talking to you. It's always so nice to talk to you. But we appreciate your time. We know it's getting late. So Commissioner Miller, everything that you're doing, again, AmericanStewardsOfLiberty.org or SidMiller.com. Please look that up. Please pay attention. Form your own thoughts and opinions. We're not telling you how to think. We're just giving you the information. We're trying to educate. You just look at the information, educate yourself, and then come have a conversation on what you feel then. But again, thank you for joining us on Patriots Inside the Wire. We'll be back next Wednesday, 8 o'clock Central Time. So good night to you, Commissioner Miller. It is getting past my bedtime. I am old school. So it's been a great time to have you on too. So I'm sure I'll talk to you before the holidays, but it's good to see you. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas. And we'll get you connected to the School of the Veterans. I think that would be wonderful. I know that they would be excited about that. So we'll figure it out. We're going to figure this out. So if anybody out there is in need of help, again, please go to these different websites. Please check in. Commissioner Miller, you've given us everywhere we can go, the information, the educational side. Keep us abreast on, you mentioned these multiple lawsuits again. The number one thing said that, again, I said it at the beginning of the show, is the number one thing people are saying to me is, can you do something about your governor? Because I talk to people from all over. And I don't know what to say anymore. I'm at a point where I'm like, I can't do anything by myself. Now, you can actually serve notice. There is a way to do this under our Constitution. We, the people, have forgotten about how to do this. This is the Old West, but it's not. If you read your Constitution and your state Constitution, you can serve notice. I just don't call yourself a citizen. That's a tip I'm telling you out there. So you can do that. But Commissioner, I don't even know if you can, but I don't even know what to say anymore when I'm asked about our governor, the governor in Texas. And
we could do another show if you want to.
I guess we're going to have to, because I'm getting pretty hard with that one. And I don't really know how to answer these questions because of the common sense. I'm not PC. I just can't do the PC thing. I'm not saying I do not like our governor. What I'm saying is the job has been done. It's time. Let's hand this over. Let's get something else done. If that means term limits, a lot of people are shocked that Texas does not have term limits, literally. And I'm like, yeah, there's no term limits. And Commissioner Miller, his phone is giving us the sign. It's saying, Tracy, can you hear me? Is your sound on there? You got it? Well, as Commissioner Miller is grabbing his phone to see if it's muting or not, can you hear me? Thumbs up or thumbs down? And as we are at the end of I don't know. I think you can hear me though, Commissioner, correct? Thumbs up. You can hear me? So what we'll do is we are going to now cut to, thank you, Commissioner Miller, for joining us tonight. He has been on the road and literally his phone just died. So we are very appreciative. Again, like I said, Patriots Inside the Wire does not endorse, does not go behind and everything that comes on. That does not mean that is something that Patriots Inside the Wire is all about. When it does come to certain subjects, we are not afraid to answer those questions. So we hope that you have listened here and that you have all of that information again on Patriots Inside the Wire. If you were not able to hear this and you would like someone else to hear this, all you have to do is go to Patriots Inside the Wire. The easiest way is Facebook. I know a lot of people like to go there. Going to YouTube, it's another way that's easy with Patriots Inside the Wire. And then we will also get these uploaded as well. So Patriots Inside the Wire, we thank you for being with us tonight with Resilient Patriot Station. And we hope that you have a wonderful holiday and join us next week for music. We will have music with Kendall Jackson, who has his album with Jelly Roll. So we'll be on a whole different playing field next week. And then we have an annual Christmas concert that will be happening on the 13th. So we're every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central Time. Next week, Kendall Tucker with the Jelly Roll. Then the following week, we have the Marine Santa and our Christmas show. So thank you to everyone out there. I'm going to exit by playing a song for you that is from a Marine. His name is Scotty Frazier, and it is the Scotty Frazier Band, and it is called Never Surrender. I want you to never surrender to anything and to always understand that America and what we serve and what we do to build this country, it is important. So please never surrender, and thank you for being with us.
I was broken for a while, a drop of blood for every mile I'm on. I took all that they gave and lived to fight another day. But if today is all I get, I'll make my mark and you can bet that I'll never surrender. On this life, and I'll never surrender.
Never surrender.
On this life,
Never surrender.